morning to my fellow classmates and Miss Ang. This is my group mates. I'm going to be presenting on French New Wave and the movie Breathless. So, French New Wave, first of all, it happened because of some cultural phenomenon that was happening in France at the time. So it was about economic, political, aesthetic, and social trends that developed during these 2 years, 1940s and 1950s. French New Wave, it was known as French Nouvelle Vogue, can be considered as one of the most influential film movements that took place in the history of cinema. The movement can still be felt until today, for example, in movies, like Tarantino's movies, for example. It's very heavily influenced by French cinema. And this is actually a very important milestone in the French New Wave whole thing, the Cahiers du Cinema magazine. It was wrote by, it started out by Truffaut, but it was further developed by a group of critics whose names I will mention after this. These people, they're the guy who progressed on French New Wave, which was, and these people, they weren't with them at the beginning, but further later in time, they further developed the thing. It began as one thing about French New Wave was because of the phenomenon that was happening at the time, they were trying to change the whole portrayal of French cinema. They want to go out of tradition. They want to they want to show the real thing that was actually happening instead of what the traditional ways of French filmmaking was. It began as a movement, like I said, as against the traditional path that French cinema followed. French New Wave potentially began, these people, and next. This was, like I said, it was further progressed in Cahiers du Cinema, but the initial origin of the French New Wave was started by this guy, Alexander Aster. He came out with a manifesto, The Birth of a New Avant-Garde, the camera style. It can be considered as a starting point of French New Wave. It took place in 1948. The manifesto outlined several ideas, which was further progressed in Cahiers du Cinema. And these are the aspects of what this guy was, and the guys before was trying to explain. Camera style, mise-en-scène, stylistic approach, which this can be related to what auteur theory is as well. Auteur theory was actually, this guy, Truffaut, he came up with the auteur theory, but then Andre Bazin further explained what it was. So the leading film producers wanted to change the traditional way of portraying French filmmaking. Therefore, they wrote this, Cahiers du Cinema, and then during the French New Wave movements, they heavily weighted on the thing, auteur theory. And then auteur theory, Bazin believes that the directors should have all the say in his movie. So he says that the director should be called author of the films, and the term first appears in Cahiers magazine. Next. This is a little bit of what auteur theory is. The director is everything. So you can see he's the producer, his vision is everything pretty much. And the thing about auteur theory is how you want to tell whether a film is an auteur theory is you can see whether the actors are recurring and familiar theme, familiar camera style, familiar style, why French New Wave? The social cultural context. This is why they wanted to make the movement happen, because at the time it was post World War II. France was still recovering from financial difficulties, like what they presented, and it was the infrastructure was still rebuilding and whatnot, and they wanted to go out of tradition, and yeah, it is very related to Italian neorealism and French existentialism, to rebel against traditions again. That's pretty much what French New Wave is. And this is very important as well, the rise of the youth, because French New Wave pretty much is about independent films, and mostly most of the storytelling in the film is based on real life and real people. So it relates to the youth in a way where it shows fashion sense during the time, and how youth were very rebellious, very acting immorally, and those aspects are always shown in the main actors of the stories. So moving on, I'm going to pass on to Jason.
So, the French New Wave has been known to influence the current movies of Hollywood. So, a bit of a background before I get into it. In the 1950s film journal, Cahiers de Cinéma, film critics François Truffaut, Jean-Luc Godard, and a few others, they came together and discussed the concept and idea that would lay the groundwork for French New Wave. And so they created an independent, accessible form of filmmaking which embraced the mise-en-scene, grounded in the reality of day-to-day life in post-World War II Paris. And central to the French New Wave was the author theory, the idea that unique and creative films are born not through the studio-driven, predetermined formula, or indeed the script itself, but by the director's own vision, philosophy, and style. So, in layman's terms, the director got so involved in the making of the film, they became the author. Continuing, the influence of French New Wave can be observed in modern-day authors who leave their signature mark in their works, such as the cinematic excellence of Martin Scorsese, stylized gore of Quentin Tarantino, and recently the cognitive exploration of Christopher Nolan and Alfonso Cuarón, the director. And the trend that director as authors has continued to be the hallmark of many of today's critically and commercially successful films. A bit of a fact, French New Wave influenced the creation of the old film genre, film noir and film fatale. Next, I'll move on to the characteristics of French New Wave. So unlike Hollywood films, French New Wave films tend to break the rules of continuity editing and using free editing styles. According to the author of a book called Goals, a jump cut is a mismatch in which the shift from one shot to the next fails to maintain smooth continuity in space or time. The reason that the directors do this is to remind the audience that they are watching a movie, to draw them in, keep their attention focused extensively in the film. Like for example, Jean-Luc Godard's A Bout de Souffle, otherwise known as Breathless, we can see a lot of the jump cuts in the starting scene where he drives in the highway of Paris. Next, the French New Wave films are notoriously known to be low-budget productions. For example, after World War II, France undergoes an economic crisis which affects much of its industries, including filmmaking. As a result, director Jean-Luc Godard had to borrow his friend's apartment to shoot the very well-known scene where Michel is shown to be lounging and chatting with Patricia. Furthermore, in response to the lack of funding, most of the scenes in French New Wave are mostly shot on locations instead of studios. Continuing that, the directors of French New Wave had always admired the neorealists, especially Rossellini. And in opposition to studio filmmaking, they decided to shoot on location and use the natural lighting. Like the glossy studio light was always replaced with natural available light. So they always film their scenes in daylight or near lampposts. Anything that is available to them, basically. Unlike other filmmaking studios, French New Wave directors recorded the sounds and rarely bothered to make corrections. So they are mostly distorted most of the time. And Another example is in Godard's film Breathless, the scene where Michelle drives on a highway at the beginning is the perfect example because it is shot in daytime with a highway less of trees. Now I'll pass to Keith.
Okay, now I'm here to talk about the director of the film Breathless, Jean-Luc Godard. What actually makes Godard an author? So basically, he writes, directs, and sometimes edits his own film. And like Afiq just said, he offers his visuals and verbal image to the audience and to his crew. And he makes film as an experimental filmmaking. So basically, you break the rules. Okay, I have a question to ask you guys. You guys watched Breathless before, right? So what do you guys think the rules that Godard broke in the film Breathless? Anyone? Okay, well, he broke the fourth wall while Michael was speaking to the camera directly with this particular line. If you don't like the shore, you don't like the cities, you don't like the mountains, then get stuffed. And the other one is in the very last scenes, Patricia is staring at the camera and doing the rubbing lips gestures. And the other one, he break the 100-degree rules when in these particular scenes, when Patricia is holding newspapers and walking from the left to the right, but afterwards it cuts to her walking from the right to the left. Breathless was shot without a script. Godard scratched the dialogue overnight and to capture it with a real spontaneous moment to make it like more real. And like Jason just mentioned just now, it is a low-cost production. He used natural lights, natural sounds, and also he used handheld cameras. The dialogue was dubbed because the camera is too loud. So Godard literally feeding the lines behind the camera like this. So he basically makes fiction film looks more real. So he makes it like a documentary film. So basically there are no scripts, and he show the visions and the verbal visions, images to his crew and tell them how to shoot it and just make it on the spot. So yeah, jump cuts as well. Jump cuts is used in the film in this particular scenes when Michelle killed the police officers. We can barely see the police officer's face and the killing scenes. It's basically just a sound and a gun and a close-up shot with Michelle's side face and the gun. And the other scenes is the driving scenes in Paris, as just now Jason has mentioned as well. Basically, the scenes is too long. Instead of cutting in front and the back, Godard make it shorten it by cutting middle. So it makes it like a jump cut. So the other question, what do you guys think the portrayals of Patricia and Michelle's in the film? Anyone? No? Okay, I would say both of them are lost and they're searching for a solid identity. Like Michelle's desire to be the Hollywood hero, Humphrey Bogart, and Patricia doing the face like the ones on the image in the scenes in her room. And the film also portrays the young generations want to rule the world like Afiq said. They are the new generation, and to say goodbye to the World War II. They think they are the free thinkers and meant to break the conservative rules. And I would say it is also a portrayal of Godard's breaking the rules, the conservative rules in the film industry.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay. Okay, I think overall the slides, yeah, I think this is like you know, paragraph by paragraph, like too much words that you put together.